how many people do you think in any of the war, in the Civil War, before they were in battle or once they were shot and laying there before they had died, it passed through them, why? Why am I here? Why am I dying? Why? That's when it's too late. Had we come from a spiritual place, we wouldn't have had a war because we wouldn't have had slavery. And if we were doing that today, we wouldn't have poverty. And we wouldn't have a military-industrial complex. We wouldn't be supporting big oil and big Wall Street. We wouldn't be supporting narcissists and egomaniacs. But then again, there's collective denial. Once you buy into the denialism, you have to stay in it because your truth and your benefit comes from being a part of it. And then one day someone says, oh, you know, I knew the truth and I should have said something, but nobody else was saying anything and I didn't want to go out there and, be the victim. We think it's wonderful being a whistleblower, at least it's courageous. It shouldn't be courageous being a whistleblower. It shouldn't be courageous going out like Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King should just been another human being living his life spiritual. At least he did. But we all should be Martin Luther King. We should all be Gandhi. We should all have the courage to be other than the cowards that we are. You're either living an authentic life or you're living a coward's life. If you're living a coward's life, you're going to hide. You're going to live a very small life. You have to. You're going to box yourself in. You're going to filter everything of truth that we get to you. You can't afford to look in a mirror and see something such as truth looking back. It would scare you. You have to live in your emotions. You have to put your emotions out there like rice paper and say, now say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, and watch how I respond. All you're doing then is you're taking the authentic self, you're denying its virtue, and you're going back to this artificial constructed self from the clutter of your life and the clutter of your emotions and the clutter of your story, where you say it 1,000 times, you can hide. For how long? Your whole life. It's not going to be a long life. It's not going to be a happy life. It won't be a thriving life. It won't be a good life. There'll be bits and pieces of gestures. How many times have I seen people who should have been at demonstrations for something that benefited them and they weren't? And everybody's got an excuse of why you can't show up today for life. Okay. But someone did show up today, every day. There is no such thing as not showing up today. It's just that the person that showed up decided not to use today as a day to live. So another day wasted. You live through other people. You let other people live through you. Anytime you let someone else live through you, you don't have a life and that other person doesn't have a life. You can share things with people. You share the best of who you are with someone else, not the worst who you are. The whole idea that somehow a relationship is a place for people to dump their toxins, how stupid is that? If you don't think it's stupid, then in your relationship tomorrow, just tell the person to take the garbage that you have in the house and just dump it on your head. And they say, why? Well, because you're putting your energy on me and your emotions and yelling at me. That's just dumping garbage on me. So just dump it so you can actually see it on me. Because you can't see the impact of your emotions on me. Right? Well, suddenly if you dump the emotions every time you got angry with someone and you actually saw it, maybe it would cause people to stop for a moment. If you're the one that actually shoots someone in war and you see them dying, you see their body falling apart, a lot of those vets come back that I've counseled, it's no longer a reality game. It's real life. And then they go in post-traumatic stress disorder because they don't know how to cope with it. No one tells them. We only condition you how to be a killer and obedient. We didn't condition you how to make choices that might have been humanitarian because that might have put other people at risk. Well, how many of the choices do we make each day that honor life? We don't. So when you say, well, I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to get rid of my clutter. I'm not going to get rid of my confusion. I'm going to hang out with this toxic person or that toxic person. I'm going to work on this meaningless job. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat some garbage because I'm really not feeling good about myself. None of that has to do with the authentic self. What you're doing is you're showing up every day with the artificial self, an artificial construct of contempt and loathing. And only thing comes out of it is confusion, depression, anxiety, angst, rage, and pain. There's nothing else that's going to happen. So when you have your stroke, and you have your breast cancer, and you have your prostate cancer, and you have your brain tumor, and you have your aneurysm, don't be surprised. Because all those days that could have been meaningful, positive, you said no to. Instead of living in this moment of authentic truth, honoring your spiritual self, living mindfully and consciously and ethically, you chose to live in this artificial self over here, the duality self. Here's the real self, here's the artificial construct. But there's no two selves. No one is born evil, but we can become evil in what we do. No one is born bad, but we can become bad. No one's born a racist. It's not genetic. We become racist. No one's born misogynist. We become misogynist. No one's born selfish. We become selfish. What is the purpose of life except to continue to master what we don't know throughout life? And then once we've mastered it, it's a gift. You give it away and get something else. And that's why if you live life in 3-year segments and you look ahead and you say, what is the likely outcome of what I'm doing? What I'm eating, what I'm thinking, how I'm relating, what I'm sharing. You look ahead. The spiritual self shows you everything. It's not hoodoo, voodoo. It's not eclectic. It's not existential. It is not ethereal. It is simply a practical way of cause and effect. But on the other hand, if you choose to deny that this week, this day, this month, this hour has meaning. I can't do it right now. It's too hard. I'm not making enough money here, and I want to go over there, but I don't know what I want to do there, and I don't like over here, and I don't like this, but I'm confused about that. What you've done is you just said, okay, let's just start like a prisoner. I'm going to mark off this day, this day, this day, this day, this month, this year, this year. Gee whiz, am I 32? Am I 42? What the hell just happened to my life? Well, what happened to life is the choices you made from a conditioned self. You believed that your power of not making a choice was the right choice. Remember this, we only remember who shows up for life. We never remember who doesn't. We pride ourselves on how risk-averse we are, and how we're not going to take any risks that challenge our conditioned self. And yet the authentic self just flows through life, looking at everything as an opportunity to grow. Where everything is yes, how can I learn? How can I grow? How can I do? Everything else, you're hunkered down over there. You're hunkered down guarding it. Yeah, and where's it going to go when you die? Do something meaningful with it, but our guilt and shame makes us give stuff to people who didn't deserve it, didn't work for it. We work for it, we deserve it, now give it to someone else who give them a chance. Help people who really need it. Isn't it interesting? We give billions of dollars to foundations that don't help anybody. They're so corrupt, these NGOs, and yet the people who really could benefit from it, they're the other. Let's go through some more. The media, is it the media coming from a balanced and objective and fair place? Never. None of the media. It's all imbalanced because it has to also serve whoever is supporting it. So the media, including journalists, will self-censor. And hence I can't trust the media. Respect for nature. If we really respected nature, we would respect the bees. Bees provide 1/3 of the world's pollination. That means that 1 out of every 3 vegetables and fruits that you eat, nuts, comes because there were honeybees. But if you use genetically engineered chemicals and pesticides, you're going to kill the bees, and hence you're not going to have food. Now, how smart is that? Doesn't make any sense, does it? But instead of saying, I want no more genetic engineering, I want no more chemicals, I'm going to protest, I'm only going to buy organic. Instead of doing the right thing, that thing, instead we just go ahead and eat what is left. So we just keep going down, down, down. So we go from having abundance of food to less food, to less food, to less food, and then the time comes when only those who have money and power will be able to have the food that we have, and everybody else will be fighting for it. Same way with water. And then what you'll see is some major multi-billion-dollar companies coming in and providing water by owning aquifers, having the exclusive right to then to sell water to communities, and the taxes are going to go through the roof because people have to drink. That's going to happen now. All of our institutions have betrayed us. Our educational institutions, if they stuck with the principles that we used to have, teach young learners a curriculum that allows them to be critical in their judgment, to be able to ask the right questions, and to be able to solve problems. That has become rare. Instead, we want to privatize the educational system because there's billions of dollars out there for whoever owns the curriculum and the schools and can charge the money for it. We should have seen this coming, but again, those who know the truth have been excluded. Remember, always the first thing in there. By the way, to show you this idea, in every revolution throughout history, who are the first people to always get purged, jailed, or killed? People who are still capable of critical thought. Mao, Hitler, Nixon, they always have their purge list, their enemies list. And that's who they don't want to have because they can infect the people. And today, we've even made free speech a liability. Anyone exercising free speech against any institution or any governmental agency today, you're going to be put on a watch list. If you're an environmentalist, it's a local terrorist watch list. An animal rights person, a local terrorist watch list. And we should be protesting this. We're not. So when you're not protesting injustice, it means because you have become epigenetically conditioned to believe in the rightness of it. Because now you're looking at those animal rights people or those environmentalists as the other. You're not even able to get back in touch with the spiritual to say if someone wants to protect the bees or wants to protect the wolves or wants to protect the whales or wants to protect the fish, that's a good thing. No, we just see them in what we were told should be the light we see them and how we should treat them. They're just terrorists. So the majority of the public is not sympathetic with people who tell the truth. We can't even have a majority of the public who believes that global warming is a serious situation and should be dealt with. So whether it's education or whether it's religion, whether it's government agencies, they're not there to help you. They're there to make sure that you support them and that you believe in their truth, their local truth. Look all over Africa. Look in the Congo, 6.5 to 12 million people slaughtered. Rwanda, all over Africa, there's enormous conflict. Why? People have forgotten what it was to respect the other. Whether it doesn't matter which group. The Saudi royal family against their untouchables, the Shia, because they come from Wahhabi, and so they're treated like garbage. People want to go to Dubai or a major resort that's being developed on the Gulf, the Arabian Gulf, supposedly the most expensive hotel in the world, but over 1,000 immigrant workers have died in the construction because they're treated so poorly. You don't hear about that. You only hear about how luxurious the hotel is. It'd be so easy just to simply make sure that everyone has a quality of life. Everyone has an infrastructure. So don't think of a 1%, 99%. There's 100%. We're all human beings to the degree that we choose not to be, whether we have money or no money, because for every one of those 99%, look in their wallets and see how many of those people have a credit card from the 1%, shop in their Walmart, where jobs were outsourced to China, and hence have no solidarity for those who used to work with and be their neighbor, even them. Look at the people that will not buy organic, but will buy crap, that feed their kids crap. Look at the clothes they wear that come from the designer companies that were made in Bangladesh. So if you took that person and flew into Bangladesh and showed them a woman working 18 hours a day, making 14 cents an hour, and having to go home at night because they can't afford to ride a bus or a train, so they have to walk home, and they get home at 1 o'clock in the morning, they have to make their family their food, they have to do their clothes, all before she goes to sleep for 3 hours, then she has to walk back at work, all so that she cannot get up more than twice a day out, or she's given a switch on the back. And then you say, was that shirt that you just bought or dress really worth it? Would you still buy it knowing that it engaged in slave labor and abuse? But we choose by separation not to see the truth of any of our actions. We don't want to see where our food comes from, our clothes come from. We don't want to see the people killed by our drones or bombs. We don't want to see the people who are brought into jails who shouldn't be there. We don't want to see how people are treated in jails. We don't want to see how the senior citizens are treated. We don't want to see 12 million lonely, sick, and poor senior citizens living in abject poverty. We don't want to see any of this. And for years, when you lived in the suburbs, you saw an oasis. We don't want to see the desert. We don't want to see that we become so radicalized that one group has so much power, but that's to assume the 99% have no power. You see, once you do this game, and it's a game, when you say the 1% and the 99%, then you're saying the 1% have all the power. The 1% has no power unless you give it to them. When you stop watching their television, buying their beer, buying their candy, buying their magazines, buying their clothes, shopping in their store, then they have no power. Remember, power is an illusion. Power only exists when you give it to someone. When you cease giving people power, they no longer have power over you. And that's what we have forgotten. So I'm saying, when you come from the spiritual authentic self, the sacredness of life, then you see the sacredness in all things. Then you see the sacredness in our environment. It's not to be exploited. The rainforests, which are the lungs of the earth, are not to be depleted. You see the sacredness in relationships. So hence you don't bring that which is not sacred into the relationship. If you see the sacredness in all races, then there's no racism. Whatever person's sexual preference, you see the sacredness in life. It's irrelevant how someone chooses to exercise that as long as they're exercising in a moral way. So imagine if you're coming from an ethical, moral, honest perspective. You don't need to take anything more than what you need. And we don't need a lot for happiness. Therefore, all this need for excess, where's it go? We're so wrapped up in trying to find the right relationship and the right job and the right place to live and we forget what we have already. If you took away everything I have, you've taken away nothing that's essential to who I am. It will not impact my level of being happy at all. Not 1 millimeter. Because everything is going to go in the end anyhow. Think of how many times in life we were with people and friends and relationships and clothes that we just had to have, and then they're gone one day. And the people who are there, they're gone. And the places we live, it's gone. All right, so you enjoy something for what it is, and when it's time, you let it go. Because everything has an expiration date. And you let it go. We're terrified to let anything go because we over-identify with it. When you over-identify with anything, then you made your life not something you identify with. And therefore, we wake up one day, and the only way we can recognize ourselves is for what we've accumulated and who we have and what we've done. We are more relevant than our experiences and possessions. We are relevant. So then make the day relevant. When you make the day relevant, you're going to make good choices all day. And therefore, you're going to touch people lightly and with joy, and you'll be a part of the solutions. There's no confusion, there's no depression, there's no angst, there's no rage. You can be angry. That's a healthy emotion, because if you see something that's wrong, you can address it, but at least you're addressing it proactively. You're walking in the direction of your anger, not hiding and then getting off on someone else because of what you did. Stop believing that your story is real. It is not. Our stories are constructs that we put together in order to justify who we are in this moment. And more often than not, our ego is a part of the construct that we put in place so that we feel that we can at least be accepted. My goodness, if you took everything that was wrong out of most people's story, it'd be a real short story. Why not write a new story? Why not start over and just make a new story based upon living an authentic life? As of today, Start today. Wipe it clean. And say, all right, as of today, my diet's going to be a good diet. I'm not putting anything in this body that doesn't honor it. My lungs, my heart, my liver. I'm not going to think thoughts that are not constructive. I'm not going to have friendships or relationships that are not positive and passionate and creative. I'm not going to possess people. Jealousy comes from the artificial construct, the duality. Because spiritual people are not jealous. How can you be jealous of something you can't possess? I can't possess anybody. If I'm blessed and gifted by having someone spend some time in my life, then I show the appreciation for this moment in this person's life. They're spending some time with me. When they no longer choose to, I will still remember the best that I shared and let it go. This whole idea of going to pieces, having a broken heart, all these are very nice, tragic images, but they have nothing to do with the real world. Nor does the pain from our past. You're not being abused today. You're not being assaulted today. So why should you act as if you were? Because every thought you have that reminds you of that, you recreate the energy. So instead of being mindful in this moment, we're recreating energy from the past. Now you've taken the moment and you've displaced it with the past. So all you have is your pain, confusion. Well, of course you're going to be confused because you can't predict what the outcome is going to be. There's only going to be uncertainty when you're making a prediction from a non-spiritual place. That's what we have to understand. If we want food, grow food or eat food that's healthy. If we want water, drink water that's healthy. We want a healthy body, exercise it. We want a healthy mind, exercise it. Have new languages, learn music, play instruments. Stop being engaged in anything that's passive. The moment you make your choice someone else's choice, and someone else's choice your choice, then you have no choice. You've lost the moment. You've now stepped out of the light, and every step you take, you get colder and colder, darker and darker, until one day we're making all of our decisions from the dark side of our being. Remember, there is no such thing as darker dark or colder cold. At 347 below zero, it doesn't get any colder, and it doesn't get any blacker than black. But it gets a lot lighter and a lot hotter. So what is there? Is there dark? Is dark the absence of light or the difference in the degrees of light and heat? It is a difference, not an absence of. So I deny the legitimacy of people being evil born. I believe that people are all born right, but every adapted choice they make that takes them a step away from the authentic self takes them to a dark, cold place. And then one day, all their choices, from self-mutilation to bulimia, to obesity, to depression, to anxiety, to suicide, all that's coming from a conditioned self. You would never commit suicide. You would never self-abuse. You would never abuse other people. You would be lying and cheating and stealing and manipulating if you were making your choices from your authentic spiritual self. I believe that there are no unresolved conflicts we cannot change. But you cannot change an unresolved conflict into a resolved conflict as long as you're coming from the duality, conditioned self. Because your tools, your ration, your reason are distorted. They're limited. They're just not going to work. So every time you start to say something, stop and say, am I going to be empowered? Will the other person be empowered? Is this going to be disempowering? And stop for a moment to realize, do you really want the outcome of disempowering someone else by what you say and how you say it? When we can wake up in the morning and be happy with the skin that we're in and not be envious or angry at anyone else, we don't have to justify our life by being in contempt of anyone else's, then we are free of that bondage. I do not see a 1% and 99%, that is duality. I see 100%, some living at a higher level, some living at a lower level. And when people within both so-called groups can understand what life is truly like, then you wouldn't have these artificial separations. You only have this when you have an artificial construct. So don't start off an argument allowing someone to give you their argument as if it's legitimate. Stay neutral and look at it from a spiritual perspective. And therefore you're not in contempt of the person, you're trying to understand them. Because I can also believe that if a person chooses, they do not have to take 10, 20, 30, or 40 years in incremental steps, because you're not going to have 10 or 20 or 30 years. You've already lived too much of your life. But you can make a quantum shift back. And the quantum shift is, I don't recognize the legitimacy of these fears, these limitations. I'm going to honor every day the sacredness of life. Not just mine, but the planet I live in. The animals, creatures, humans, races. And therefore you're living mindful and you're living spiritually. Does that make sense to you? Thank you all for being here.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gary Null. Each and every week at this time, we're here to share information on how to improve the quality of your life. Over the next several programs, we're going to get you healthy. Just follow this program, and we're going to show you how to get maximally well. We're going to talk about physical fitness from different perspectives. We're going to show you how to exercise. And for those of you who've always dreamed of doing a marathon, well, join the 25 to 30,000 New Yorkers or the people in San Francisco or wherever else in the United States you might be. Join them in getting yourself ready to do a marathon. It takes a lot of spirit. It takes having the heart of an athlete. It also takes having a lot of the basic skills. We're going to talk about each and every one of those. On our program today is a gentleman from India. He's a therapist. His name is Shyam Bhatnagar. Now, what makes Shyam unique is that he has helped thousands upon thousands of people understand how their body functions and how their mind functions in wellness and in disease. Well, if you went out to run 5 miles or walk 5 miles or swim or bike or anything else that requires endurance, two very important keys to that experience are knowing how to breathe and having enough breath to do it, because most people stop exercising, whether it's aerobic in front of their television set in the morning or whether it's going out biking because they lose their breath. And also boredom, or having too many thoughts clutter their mind. So we're going to ask Shyam to lead us in some deep and proper breathing exercises, as well as guided visualizations. And by the way, even if you have no interest in exercise at this moment, hopefully you will, this will be able to help de-stress your life, because proper breathing and proper mental visualization can de-stress. That's been shown. It can help lower cholesterol, can help lower blood pressure. It can make a difference biochemically. Welcome to our program, Shyam.
Thank you, Gary.
Shyam, first off, for all the people, for the tens of thousands of people right now who want to start doing something with their bodies, who want to get into shape, want to lose the extra pounds and tighten and firm the muscles, breathing is so important. Visualization is so important. Posture is so important. Guide us in your experience.
First thing, I would like anyone who wishes to accomplish whether losing weight or gaining more energy or strength is to look at themselves in the mirror every morning. And after that, they go back and they sit in a quiet place with the eyes closed and visualize themselves as they wish to become. That visualization done on the daily basis, just for 30 seconds to a minute, one can increase the time as one gets good at doing so, will influence their performance and their ability to achieve that state of being that they visualize. Now, this practice requires that you close your eyes and you really look at the tone of your skin and imagine yourself to be as thin or as agile or as strong, whatever that may be. Requirement is that it be done every day. Usually, in the traditional setting, we ask people to sit in the morning facing east, and if they're sitting in the evening, to face west. But that is not so important here in this country. Then there are breathing exercises that are done. Most popular one is to block the right nostril from the bottom of the nostril and take in all the breath possible with the left and hold it comfortably as long as it's possible, and then switch over the thumb from the right to the left and exhale gently, as much as empty as you can make your lungs. Then switch again and keep doing this for about 10 times each morning by increasing once every day until we reach 30 or 40. This practice is going to increase our capacity to breathe deeper each breath. Average person probably breathes between 12 and 15 breaths per minute. And by doing these exercises, our ability to reduce the breaths per minute will occur. And the less we breathe, deeper we breathe, more endurance we usually demonstrate.
How will that help a person doing exercise?
It will help them to feel balanced inside, because what happens is that, for instance, in the state of anxiety or nervousness, one tends to feel butterflies in the stomach or sweaty hands or conditions of nervousness of that sort. For that, there is another exercise that is considered very useful. Beak is made with the tongue, and a great amount of air is swallowed and held in the diaphragm and gradually exhaling it. Now, this practice, if it's done 5 or 10 times before any performance, the system becomes, so to speak, alkaline for a while instead of being acid dominated. So you feel a sense of coolness, you feel a sense of peace within yourself. Consequently, you don't feel nervous that you would normally.
What would you suggest for people who need a proper guided visualization? Let me give you an example of what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
I have trained probably 13,000 to 14,000 athletes just to run the marathon alone. And over the years, I've found that in people's training, a lot of their remembrances of former obstacles in their life have inhibited them from going further with their training. They'll go to a certain point, and then they get blocked. They can't go faster, they can't go strong, get more endurance. And then I'll take them to a hill, and I'll ask them to take their pulse, all right, for 60 seconds. Look up the hill and just think, this is a tough hill. I mean, this is going to be hard. I'm going to really have to pound to make up there. And then they run up the hill. Now, at the top of the hill, I ask them to stop the moment they get at the top and take their pulse again. What happens is that I ask them, let's say the pulse at the bottom was 75.
Mm-hmm.
The top of the hill it might be 130.
Mm-hmm.
And they visualize that hill as being really hard. They were over-breathing, they were hyperventilating, they were sweating, they felt fatigued, their legs felt tight.
Mm-hmm.
Then I take them to the bottom of the hill, and I say, now, close your right eye. Anytime you're running or walking, and you look with the left eye about 15 feet ahead so you can see what's in front of you, but you're looking down.
Mm-hmm. When
you close the right eye, I find out you shut off the left hemisphere of the brain.
That's right.
So as a result, you're not calculating. You're not anticipating.
Mm-hmm.
You're not expecting.
Mm-hmm.
Your level of expectation is not there.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of in a beautiful place where it's so easy to be.
Mm-hmm.
Even when someone's under stress,
Mm-hmm.
even when someone's got anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
even when friends of mine do it. I had a friend just the other day say he was having a really tough day.
Mm-hmm.
He's a lawyer with clients. And he knew he was going to have a tough afternoon. So he sat for about 1/2 hour with just closing the right eye and just visualizing positive thoughts with the left eye, it de-stressed him completely. So now I ask him to take their pulse, close the right eye, and look down, but at the same time, visualize that they're running down a hill. By visualizing running down a hill, which is so easy, so effortless, their legs are so light. And then I say, think of your feet getting lighter and your legs getting more relaxed, and your thighs are non-tense, and your chest is opening and breathing so deeply, and your shoulders are relaxed, and your neck is relaxed. Then they get to the top of the hill. They take their pulse. Now here's what I have found. I found their pulse actually goes down. I'm talking about less than what it was at the bottom of the hill. Now, as a measure of physics, that's supposed to be impossible. With greater exertion, with greater effort, the body needs more energy, so you have more expenditure of calories. You have more blood pumping through your veins. The muscles are firing constantly. Then how is it? Because it's less effort than before. And then they start using that, even in long stretches of the marathon, like where there's a relatively flat area. Between the 10th mile and the 18th mile, people get very bored frequently. I'll say, close the right eye and visualize just being like a gazelle, just gently gliding without tension and tightness. And suddenly they find their body's easy. And then one moment they wake up, they're not asleep, but they come out of their visualization and that they're at the 18-mile mark. But people can use this throughout their life in different ways of dealing with stress and anxiety in the moment. Just do a proper guided visualization. I just wanted to give you that to show you how I work with athletes. Now, how do you use visualization?
I think philosophically it is the way it works, because mind over the matter, as it is said. So you set your mind, and then the matter follows exactly the way the mind has laid down the guidelines. Now, for instance, your question about an athlete who has to perform better than he normally does, that's what I would ask of the athlete to do. I think it is important to do visualization while one is just sitting with the eyes closed, but imagining that you are climbing up that hill and you are not, that your pulse is not increasing. You are imagining that your chest is open. You are imagining that your thighs are non-tense and that your legs are non-tense, and you are running like a gazelle in the open field or in towards the mountaintop. In other words, practicing alone, training alone is not sufficient. In fact, I know from experience that if one day they train and in the evening they sit to visualize, next day in the morning they train, in the evening they visualize, their potentiality will amaze them as to how quickly they can improve upon their performance simply by visualizing. I know from experience that sometimes visualization is more effective than the practice itself.
Give us examples.
Example is that I have had a client who has not played tennis for 2 or 3 years in a row, and he had difficulties in getting lessons and so on. I asked him, I said, why do you have to get lessons? Why don't you visualize the greatest player, your own favorite player, and make believe you are playing, but it is his game. And he literally sat every evening for 10 minutes, 7 minutes, playing tennis in his mind. 3 weeks later, he took the courage, he took the racket. He says he has never played tennis like this in his life. So that is just one example from my own suggestion that I gave to someone. Other aspects of life one can also, in fact, yesterday I saw a couple who was having a problem. They want to divorce each other. And I just asked them, I said, why don't you go and just visualize that what is the most ideal way that you want to be with each other? And both of them together. You talk before it, you visualize together, you talk afterwards. I know that if they would do this homework, next week I'll see them again, and they will be on a positive footing. I almost know that. So visualizing does play a tremendous role in relaxing and achieving.
Give us an idea of the importance of sound and how sound can help in balancing our energy, allowing us to release our energy. Because every athlete I know, a lot of people right now watching, will tell you that they don't have the energy to exercise. So if they don't have the energy to exercise, how are they going to exercise? They couldn't get started on any program without some energy as well as motivation. So give us an idea of the importance of sound in stimulating and opening up energy.
Yes. Human voice usually has a range of about 2 to 3 octaves. When we vibrate a tone in the lower octave, let's say the lowest tone available to you, you vibrate that for maybe a minute, 2 minutes, all your energy will get concentrated in your pelvic area. It brings it down. Same tone, you bring 7 notes up. You will notice that the energy is vibrating now, the second, the chest area. The same note, 7 notes later, if you vibrate on the 3rd octave, it will bring it up here. Now, let's say that I want to go for playing tennis or some kind of a sport. I would sit and make the deepest tone available to me with the sound, for instance, of L. When you make the L sound, your tongue touches the base of the upper teeth. And you keep sustaining that tone for as long as your breath allows you. You take gently breath in, feel the coolness as the breath is coming in, and make that L sound in a long, sustained way over and over. In the matter of 2 or 3 minutes, your potential energy that was there but you couldn't use it will become available for that moment. Now, another question you asked me about sound, how an athlete can use it while they are performing. Extraordinary thing is that you can hear in your head the most favorite of your singing, music, while you are performing. You do not necessarily have to shut the right eye. You will be completely detached from calculating how fast you are going and where you are, because you are hearing your favorite music. And that helps in to a great number of athletes. Another thing is to do a mantra, which in the tradition people do. Just repeat the same sound over and over again as you are breathing in and out. For instance, in jogging or in running, people breathe much faster than in other sports in which you have a rest period in between. In that breathing, instead of breathing air in and out, imagine that you are breathing a mantra. May the mantra be Om, or may it be Ram, or maybe from your own tradition, whatever sound that you feel has some spiritual value. It will be so de-stressing and so useful in achieving your athletic goals.
Give us an example of how that would work.
You mean I should do a mantra live?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to partake with me?
Sure.
So that I can
Certainly.
have you do it again? Okay. If you were to just put your hands right pressing against your diaphragm inward and have both the thumbs together like this. Mm-hmm. And then just make the sound Ra.
All right, we'll do it together.
Let's do it together now.
Okay.
Do you once more?
Yeah, I'd like the people at home to try this too.
Yes, yes.
And to see what they feel.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, this is to relax the diaphragm. This
Exactly.
is to de-stress the body.
Exactly.
This is something that anyone wanting to go out to do a jog or a walk or a swim or bike could do before they're doing that to loosen their body up. Another inner relaxation exercise.
That's right.
All right.
Only requirement is that they should not have anything in their stomach. Bowels be empty and stomach be empty. So
Okay.
that Now, this can be done as many as 3 to 20 times, depending on people's
Very
interest
relaxing.
in it. Yes.
You feel very relaxed after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very nice.
Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed doing that. Now, there are many, many mantras for many, many occasions. This just happens to be one that came to my mind, so I presented it to you.
What is actually happening? What is the physiological process?
What is happening is that every cell in our body, I personally have this belief, maybe from my culture, that I truly experience that everything is in the state of vibrations. And there are spaces in between that make some things look like liquid, and some things look like solid, and some things look like gaseous, because the spaces are larger. But all the molecules, for instance, they are nothing but sound vibrations. And if everything is sound vibrations, and my whole 400 some trillion cells that I have, they're all sound vibrations. If you know how to make the key sounds, like in the 7 centers that we have in the body, each center has a key sound. You make that key sound in this sustained tone, you can vibrate all the cells of your body every morning as part of your maintenance.
Years ago, I was at a workshop with a Native American Indian medicine man.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that to heal the heart, you have to sing to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that people are frequently stressed because they can't express love. They cannot express unconditional love. Possibly they have never had unconditional love. And so I remember he asked us to hold our heart and to chant. And it was a wonderful chant.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as I was chanting and everyone else was chanting, I saw smiles coming on people's faces.
Yes, yes.
Because it just felt so good.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought afterwards, with all of the different types of psychoanalysis and all the psychiatry and all the behavioralism, something that simple of singing to your heart,
yes,
and allowing yourself to express what you feel inside in a positive way,
yes,
to yourself and to others,
mm-hmm.
is rarely done.
Yes.
Now, do you have vibrations for the heart, for instance?
Yes, we do. In fact, many people give up taking those tranquilizers because tranquilizers have side effects, and this is just joyous, and they share it with others.
What is the sound for the heart?
Sound for the heart. There are 2 sounds that are together. Ra. You see, Ra vibrates the solar plexus. Ra actually in some languages also means sun. In Sanskrit, Ra is the sound of fire. So our fire center, this has to be generating energy to deposit to the heart from the one center to the other. So the total mantra is Ra Dhe, Ra Dhe. Dhe is like DH, very aspirated sound that forces the energy to come up. And you can make that sound with me if you like.
Sure.
Is it okay to make it a little bit louder?
Sure.
Yes?
The engineers modulate it.
You can also put the hands on your breast like this. Radhe.
Now this helps the heart
Yes.
and it lightens the heart for the heavy-hearted and the sad-hearted,
Heart
the
trouble.
broken-hearted.
Broken-hearted, heart trouble, no heart trouble. This sound will make you laugh after you do it for 10 or 20 times.
All right,
It'll make you
do it
feel
again,
good.
please, for our audience. If we don't do it, it'd be too loud. The mics are too sensitive for
Oh,
that.
I see. Maybe I'll hold my mouth up.
It's nice. Is there something for people who suffer from headaches and don't have the mental focus, who seem to wake up in a cloud, foggy in the morning, to help get them started on the day so they'll be more interested in exercise and good activity?
Best thing for that, Gary, is to drink, first of all, a little glass of water in the morning upon waking up while you're still sitting in your bed. And after that, take 3 deep breaths. And look at your hand and kiss your hand, rub your hands together and wipe your face. Just that exercise alone is going to make you like yourself to start with. And it has many more advantages. It really does. I have thousands of people have done this practice in the morning as a result of my instructing them. And they wouldn't start a day without it.
So they just wake up, they take a glass of water, they kiss their hand.
3 deep breaths.
3 deep breaths. Kiss their hands.
Kiss their hand. One can be more technical. If the right nostril is open, look at the right hand. If the left is open, look at the left hand. And then just rub them together, just gently, and wipe your face. Ready to start the day.
What does the symbolic gesture mean?
You develop a sense of gratitude. You know, that's one sense that is very lacking in people ever since we have machines working for us. It's difficult to feel the gratitude. And you develop a gratitude when you do this exercise. And you just have a very sensitive feeling about yourself, for yourself, as well as projected out.
You're giving yourself the opportunity to be alive that day.
Yes.
Take control of your own life by reaffirming your own self-esteem that you're okay. Good. Sham Bhatnagar, thank you very much. Sham is the director of the Sri Center, SRI Center in Manhattan and in Princeton in New Jersey. And we thank him very much for sharing this information with us. I'm Gary Null. I hope that we've given you some little insight. You don't have to be dealing always with heavy science to appreciate that we can do a lot to improve the quality of our lives. Breathing, visualization, sound, they're all part of the natural world. So aren't we. Till next week, stay healthy and stay well.
Are you overcommitted or undercommitted to your own life? What do I mean by that? I mean that if we're overcommitted, then we do not live with balance. We have too much going on in our life, too many responsibilities, too many people, too many things to do, and there's no time for the essential self. Therefore, we live out of balance. And the only thing that can happen out of balance is we become emotionally hyper. And then when we're not finding fulfillment, we go down to depressed. Or we are undercommitted. We are so lacking in the sense of who we are, the meaning and purpose of our life, that we're just taking the meaning from our job. So we'll go to our job, or what we distract ourselves with, movies or television or radio.
When we're depressed, when we feel bad about our lives and are pessimistic and lethargic or agitated and have difficulty sleeping and eating, all those signs and symptoms of depression are letting us know that our lives are out of balance, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially.
Anyone who's depressed needs to be on a healthy diet, including supplements such as, for example, fish oils, omega-3 fish oils, which have proved very beneficial for a variety of psychological disorders, including particularly depression. The vast majority of people get significant benefits from taking up an exercise program. So that is a very important thing.
Just about anybody can take 5 or 10 minutes to go outside the house, to walk around their neighborhood, and that's a beginning. And the more movement that you can bring into your life, the more life you're bringing into your life.
When you feel really grateful for your life and express it, write your blessings down, and just start to greatly appreciate what you have, it's so much easier to feel loving also. You get a warm feeling when you notice all of the wonderful things happening in your life, and you made them happen. And that's a really good reason to love yourself more.
Gratitude offers us a chance to come back to our deepest self and the core thanks that we feel fundamentally for being alive. It puts everything into a grander perspective, where we can look down on the larger scheme of our lives, look down on the entire scheme of life itself. And when we feel that, I think that it brings us into touch with the vibration of creation itself.
Everything you do, look for everything around you to be grateful for. All right? When I'm down on my farm and I'm looking up at the big sky at night, and there's just me and nature, and there's this timeless moment of acknowledging that I've been a part of this universe forever, because you feel that connection. You feel the connectedness to something that's eternal when you're alone, but it requires being alone. And you just, the vastness of the universe, and you suddenly feel that connection. The universe allows you to feel the vibration. And I'm grateful for that moment. I'm grateful for everything. I'm even grateful for the bad things that have happened in my life, because they've taught me lessons I can teach to other people. And the key is, in gratitude of negative things, be grateful for not having to repeat it. It's the repetition of our problems that accumulates. We're all going to make mistakes, and that's completely okay, as long as we understand them and we're grateful for them.